In the Impact segment tonight, welfare in America. That is the subject of this evening's Talking Points memo. As just about everybody knows, America's broke. The government owes more than $14 trillion. So spending has to be cut, possibly including some welfare payments to the poor. In 2002, the poverty rate in America was about 12%. In 2009, it's about 14%, up 2 points, despite more than $4 trillion in welfare spending over that period. The big kahuna, Medicare, which counts for $276 billion this year alone, an 87% rise in 10 years. Medicaid is money the federal government gives to the states to pay for health expenses for the poor. Food stamps also big, up a whopping 256% in 9 years. Child nutrition programs up 82%, low-income energy assistance up 190%, direct payments to Americans who have low wages up 353%. That's the redistribution of income. Welfare spending is 15% of the entire federal budget, but that is deceiving because Medicare and Social Security account for 33% of all the spending. If you take those mandated expenses out of the equation, then welfare payments account for 22% of the total budget, and that's a big number. A recent Rasmussen poll says 71% of Americans believe too many people are receiving welfare who should not be getting it. Just 18% of us say more people should receive welfare. On the immigration front, 57% of households with children, both legal and illegal, are on some kind of government assistance. And obviously, this is causing some resentment. It's not that illegal aliens themselves get welfare, although some of them do. It's the children of illegals who cannot be denied. The Democratic Party in general does not want to cut government assistance programs to the poor or even to illegal aliens. The basic philosophy of President Obama's party is to redistribute income, as we said, to those who do not have very much, regardless of their status. A fair system would hold those receiving government assistance accountable. That is, if they turn things around in their lives, they would have to pay back a portion of what they receive. And they would actively have to look for work. If they don't, the benefits cease. President Clinton signed the Welfare Reform Act in 1996, and that slowed the entitlement industry down a bit. But over the past few years, it has picked up steam again. The feds must impose discipline here and in every other federal spending situation. And that's the memo. Now, let's bring in Fox Business anchor Lou Dobbs. You see him at FBN at 7 each evening. All right, let's start with the children, because this is the crux of the whole debate. Irresponsible parents can't cut it, right? Okay, variety of reasons: ill-educated, screwed up mentally, substance abuse. Their children have to have the basics, do they not?
Absolutely. If you live in this country is going to provide, whether through private charity, whether through the school system, or whether through the federal government and state government and all of the assistance programs. There will be provision for children.
So that it is very hard for the federal government then to stop these entitlement benefits like food stamps, even though they're abused in many cases.
They are, and arguably that's at the margin. There's no good documentation as to how much is fraud and how much is legitimate. But there is the
numbers are just too big. It's estimated about 57 million Americans are on the dole somewhat here, and there's 320 million of us. Right. 57% are now 57 million. Right. Are now dependent somewhat on the government. And the government can't police 57 million people.
Impossible.
Right.
And further, as we see these block grants to the states, we lose further accountability.
Well, the states are supposed to be accountable.
Right, but of course they are not. And then you add to that the fact that we have almost 20 million people in this country who are working directly for the government, whether it is state, whether it is county, whether it is federal or local government. I mean,
that's a big expenditure, but that doesn't have any. They're not on welfare. But let's get back to the welfare thing. So it looks to me like this is a very tough area in which to cut. I mean, if you're going to cut, kids are going to get hurt.
Kids may get hurt, but if we decide that means that we've given up any confidence at all that government can be competent or effective.
So what is the solution?
The solution is to start doing what we should do in all respects, and that is mean testing. Those who have sufficient money should not be receiving assistance. Those who do not have enough should, under certain conditions. I think what you laid out, performance marks, that is seeking jobs and finding. And the idea of compensating, paying back government for the largesse of the American taxpayer
that have to be going.
is I think, a terrific idea.
Absolutely. You got to impose that down the road. Now, when you have, 57% of immigrant families on some kind of government assistance, I mean, that breeds resentment from Americans who are born here, because that's more than half of immigrant families. You hear Mayor Bloomberg and you hear these other people, immigrants, and they are. Immigrants contribute greatly to this. But now we have more than 50% of them taking taxpayer money to get through life.
And of course, the issue is the illegal immigrant who is receiving, now Obamacare will cover illegal immigrants. Just as Congressman Joe Wilson famously said as the president spoke, that he was misrepresenting the statement, illegal immigrants will be covered. This president is carrying out fiat de facto amnesty, which he announced this past week. I mean, it is extraordinary, the incentives that are being offered to illegal immigrants and the
So what is the solution here? Because again, is the children of illegal aliens that are mandated right now. There are different rules about illegal aliens getting, they can get phony Social Security cards, which is how they get it.
Public pension benefit cards, I mean, they're found on illegal immigrants all the time.
Right, what's the solution to that, though?
The solution is for, first of all, to give up the honor system and start absolutely enforcing immigration law. I'm not talking about anything draconian or out of the ordinary. I'm talking about simply enforcing law, enforcing our borders, and being rational and effective and humane.
But you've got between 12 and 20 million illegal people here now, and there, as we said, 57, and that includes some legal immigrants, 57% of immigrant families. Is there any solution to that at all? I don't know.
There is a solution. I mean, but this is part of the noise that's been created by the advocacy groups. It's as if we have to throw our hands in the air.
Oh, you're bigoted if you do that.
You're bigoted if you talk about even dealing with the issue. You're a heartless fool who wants deportation, even if you've never called for deportation.
Well, on all of these issues, it comes back to the left demonizing anybody who says we got to have more responsibility, we got to cut back. Oh no, you're hurting the kids, you're hurting these people, you're hurting that people, you're prejudiced against this one and that one. That's the argument.
And the argument is in some cases, right on. But they forget the institutions that are involved here. You mentioned Bill Clinton, welfare reform, 1996. The point of welfare reform was to reduce the number of children in this country born out of wedlock and to incentivize two members at the head of a household as married couples, and the inverse has happened. It's fewer people married and more kids being born out of wedlock.
All right, this is what I think this is the most intractable problem, the most difficult problem in the whole budget mess. Lou, thanks very much.
Great to be with you.